Hello students, I hope you all are doing good. In today's class, we shall start the chapter Light. Today, we shall cover the following 4 points. First, what is light? Second, light travels in straight line. Third, reflection of light. And fourth, virtual and real image. We shall study all the 4 points in details. The first one is, what is light? Light is a form of energy which helps us to see things around us. Let us try to understand this point in further details.
How do we humans perceive the things around us? We have 5 senses that help us to interact with the world around us. These are sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Eyes help us to see things, ears help us to hear sounds, we smell with our nose, taste with our tongue, and the sense of touch is provided by our skin. Of course, all senses are important, but the sense of sight is the most important. Here is an interesting fact. We perceive almost 80% of the world around us by using our sense of sight. We see objects around us with our eyes, but then why don't our eyes see these objects in the dark? The answer to this question is light. We are able to see the objects around us because of the light coming from these objects. The light from these objects travels in space and reaches our eyes. When it's dark or during nighttime, as there is no light, we are unable to see these objects clearly. Some objects can generate their own light. For instance, the sun, the fluorescent bulbs, burning candles can generate their own light. The objects which generate their own light are called the luminous objects. Almost all of the objects that we come across cannot generate their own light. The table, a chair, wall, paper are few of such examples. Such objects are called as non-luminous objects.
Now let us come to our second topic, light travels in a straight line.
Here, I'll switch on a torch. See? The light goes in a straight path to incident on the wall. It does not bend anywhere.
Hey, it's suddenly become nice and cloudy. Looks like it will rain.
Yes. Notice how the sun's rays are filtering through the clouds. You can clearly see the light in straight lines here.
Oh, yes, you're right. I can clearly distinguish the straight lines of light.
Can you think of any instances where you noticed light traveling in straight lines?
How about the red beam of light emitted by the laser toy gun my little brother plays with?
That's a good example.
Now let us come to our third topic, reflection. The process of sending back the rays of light which falls on the surface of an object is called reflection. Or in other words, the process of changing the direction of the light which falls on the surface of an object is called reflection. Let us try to understand this process or phenomena in more details.
But I just told you that we see objects around us because of the light coming from them. And if objects like these cannot generate light, then how come we are able to see them? We are able to see them because of the reflection of light. These objects reflect the light to our eyes. What light are they reflecting? Where is the light coming from? This light is nothing but the light coming from the luminous objects. So how can we summarize this? We are able to see non-luminous objects because they reflect the light of the luminous objects falling on these surfaces. Let me repeat. The light coming from the luminous objects falls on the non-luminous objects. Non-luminous objects then reflect this light, and this reflected light travels towards our eyes. And that's why we see the objects. In the daytime, we are able to see blue skies, the white clouds, and the green grass because the light from the sun is getting reflected by them and traveling towards our eyes. At night, we are able to see the moon because it is reflecting the light from the sun. Note that moon is non-luminous and it cannot generate its own light. As I said earlier, most of the objects that we come across in our daily life are non-luminous. We only see them because they reflect the light. Step inside a dark room, light up a torch and point it at the distant wall. Look carefully at the path of the light coming from the torch. You will see tiny dust particles in the air. What is the reason for this? Why are you able to see these particles? You are able to see the dust particles because the light from the torch is getting reflected from their surfaces and traveling towards our eyes. In this video, my aim is to give you the basic understanding of the terms virtual and real images. It's a slightly long video, but it'll be one of the most interesting ones too. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. What you see on your screen is a mirror. It has this plane and smooth reflecting surface on one side. It's called a plane mirror because its reflecting surface is flat. What other types of mirrors have you seen? Have you seen this type of mirror? Well, you must have seen it on the stand of your bathroom or maybe hung up there on a wall. This is not a plane mirror. Try to move your hands over the surface and you will notice it. This is called spherical mirror, or more precisely, spherical concave mirror. It is curved inwards. It is kept there as we use it mostly when we are shaving. Let's consider this plane mirror again. When we stand in front of a mirror, we see an image of ourselves in the mirror. Nothing surprising there. Why are we able to see our image? Yes, it's due to the reflection of light. In fact, it's due to multiple reflections of light rays. How? The light rays from the source are first incident on our body. They bounce off from our body and fall on the surface of the mirror and again gets reflected from there. This reflected light then reaches our eyes and we see our image. So what does this tell us? Yes, this tells us that a light ray can get reflected multiple times. The same thing happens for every other non-luminous object as well. If you remember, my initial goal was to explain what virtual and real images are. Let me ask you a question. This image that you see here, is it a real image or a virtual one? This image is a virtual image. In order to explain what a virtual image is, let's first simplify this image. Let's represent this boy with an arrow pointing up. And here is our plane mirror. You can assume the top of the arrow to be the top of the head of a boy. Now, where is the image of the boy formed? When we see the image in the mirror, it seems to us that the image is formed somewhere behind the mirror. But there is nothing behind the mirror, right? For us, the light rays seem to come from the location present behind the mirror. For instance, consider a few light rays emerging from top of the arrow. All these rays are incident on the mirror and get reflected back. Yes, all the reflected rays will follow the laws of reflection. You see that all the reflected rays are moving away from each other, that is, they are diverging. But we know that the image is formed somewhere behind the mirror. So let me extend these reflected rays backwards and see what happens. We see that they meet at this point behind the mirror. And to us, this is where the top of the image appears to be. When we look at this point, it appears to us that all the light rays are diverging from this point. But in reality, there are no light rays behind the mirror. This being a smooth and shiny surface reflects most of the light back and almost no light reaches behind. But yet, we have the perception that the light rays are coming from the point behind. So we just consider the top of the arrow here. We can do something similar for the remaining points on the object to get the complete image. So we say that the image formed here is virtual, or in other words, not real. You can think of a virtual image as an image which appears to be formed in a position somewhere behind the mirror. But in reality, it isn't there. A virtual image is formed when the light rays diverge after reflection from the mirror. Every plane mirror forms a virtual image. This is the first characteristic of the images formed by plane mirrors. Images formed by plane mirrors are virtual and not real. So what is the real image then, and how are they formed? Let's replace this plane mirror with a spherical concave mirror. Why? It's because real images can be formed by concave mirrors. Let's consider the light rays from the same point of the object incident on the mirror. We see that after reflection, each ray is traveling in a certain direction. Note that here as well, each ray obeys the law of reflection. What difference did you notice here compared to the plane mirror reflection? In the previous case, all the reflected rays were diverging. Yes, here all the reflected rays after reflection are intersecting each other at this point, or we can say that they are converging at this point. And the image of the top of the arrow is formed at this point. And we can do something similar for the remaining points of the object too. We get this image. This is called a real image. It is the image formed when light rays converge after reflection from the surface. One important thing we need to know is that real images formed by concave mirrors are always inverted. We will learn more about this in the future videos. You see that in this case, the image is formed on the same side of the mirror as the object is. Real images are always formed on the same side as that of the object, and light rays do reach this position. When we look at the real image formed by a concave mirror, it also seems to us that the light rays are diverging. But here the rays actually are diverging from a point in front of a mirror. Whereas in the case of a plane mirror, it appears to us that the rays were diverging from the point behind the mirror. So did you understand the difference between a virtual image and a real image? When we look at a virtual image, it appears to us that the light rays are diverging from a point somewhere behind the mirror, but in reality they aren't, as no light reaches behind the mirror. It's only our perception. And in the case of a real image, the light rays are actually diverging from the point present on the same side of the mirror. In reality, light rays indeed reach this point. Hence, we call it a real image.
Now, let us try to define the two terms real image and virtual image. Real image. The image which can be obtained on a screen is called a real image. For example, image formed on a cinema screen is a real image. Second, virtual image. The image which cannot be obtained on a screen is called a virtual image. It can only be seen by looking into a mirror. A real image can be formed on a screen because light rays actually pass through it, but which does not happen in case of a virtual image that we have already seen in the video. So that's all for today. Thank you and take care.